It was a quiet evening, and the city streets were starting to empty as people returned home after a long day. The air had a chill, and the faint smell of rain lingered on the pavement. The Millionaire CEO was walking slowly, lost in thought about his busy day at work, the endless meetings, and the decisions that weighed heavily on him. He had always been focused on numbers, strategies, and results, but that evening, something different caught his attention. From a distance, he noticed a small figure standing near the corner of a dimly lit street. At first, he thought it was a child waiting for someone, but as he got closer, he realized something was terribly wrong. A little girl, no older than 6 or 7, was being yelled at by a man who appeared drunk. The man's words were harsh and angry, and his hands were raised in a threatening manner. The girl's small body trembled as she tried to protect herself, her eyes wide with fear. Her clothes were dirty, and there were visible marks on her arms and face. She looked like she had been through so much already, and the world around her seemed harsh and unforgiving. The CEO's heart sank. He had seen difficult situations before, but something about this scene hit him differently. It was not just the sight of the girl's fear or the father's aggression. It was the feeling of helplessness in her eyes. She looked at him briefly, as if searching for someone to protect her, someone to believe in her when no one else did. He hesitated for a moment, unsure if he should intervene. He had never been in a situation like this before, but the longer he watched, the more he felt a pull inside him that he could not ignore. No matter how busy or important his life was, this child needed help. The father, in his drunken state, was unstable and dangerous. The CEO knew he could not just walk away. As he approached, the father suddenly shouted something and stumbled away, leaving the girl standing alone on the street. Her body shook as tears streamed down her face. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to feel some sense of safety in a world that had shown her so little kindness. The CEO stepped closer, speaking softly, "Hey, it's okay. You're safe now. I'm here to help you." The girl flinched at his voice at first, but something in his tone made her stop crying for a moment and look up at him cautiously. He noticed her small hands, the dirt under her nails, and the bruises forming faint shadows on her skin. He knew he had to act quickly. He took off his coat and gently placed it around her shoulders. "Let's get you somewhere warm," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. She hesitated, unsure if she could trust him, but the fear in her eyes slowly gave way to a fragile hope. He reached for his phone and called the local authorities, explaining the situation in detail. The girl listened quietly, still trembling, but there was a glimmer of relief in her eyes. She was not alone anymore. While waiting for help, he offered her a bottle of water and a small snack he had in his bag. She took them with shaky hands, still unsure of what to say or how to react. As they waited, he knelt down to her level, speaking gently. "My name is Mr. K. What's your name, sweetie?" She hesitated, but finally whispered her name, her voice barely audible. He repeated it softly, letting her hear her name spoken kindly, something she likely had not experienced often. He asked her simple questions about school, favorite games, and friends. Anything to make her feel human again, to make her feel seen and heard. The girl's answers were brief, but each word she spoke seemed to ease some of the tension in her small body. She began to relax slightly, leaning against him as if the world's weight was just a little lighter. The CEO's presence was steady and calm, a stark contrast to the chaos she had just escaped. Minutes felt like hours, but soon the sound of sirens signaled the arrival of help. Officers and social workers approached carefully, assessing the situation. The CEO explained everything he had seen, from the father's aggression to the child's frightened state. The girl clung to him for a moment, and he gently encouraged her to let the professionals take over. assuring her she would be safe. As the authorities spoke with her, the CEO watched closely, making sure she was not scared or overwhelmed. He realized that while the immediate danger was gone, this little girl's journey to safety and healing was just beginning. He felt a deep responsibility to ensure she was protected, not just for a night, but in a way that would help her feel secure in the long term. After the authorities took her into their care, the CEO stayed for a while, speaking with them about the best options for her placement. He learned about foster care, temporary shelters, and legal processes, realizing how complex and difficult it could be to protect a child from such circumstances. He made a mental note to follow up personally, ensuring she would have the support she needed. As he walked back to his car, his mind was racing. The evening's events had shaken him in ways he did not expect. He had been prepared to deal with business crises, market fluctuations, and corporate challenges, but nothing had prepared him for the raw reality of human suffering in such a direct way. He thought about the girl, her small hands and scared eyes, and he knew he could not let her story end in pain or neglect. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about her, wondering if she felt safe, if she had a warm bed, if she could finally rest without fear. He decided that his role could not end at just helping that night. He needed to be part of her story, to ensure that someone with the means and heart to make a difference would stand by her side. He began planning quietly, not as a public figure, not for recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. His wealth, his influence, and his resources could provide what she had been missing all her life: stability, care, and the chance to grow in a safe environment. He thought about how small acts of courage and compassion could change a life forever, and he felt a resolve forming within him. By the time morning came, he had made his first steps. He would stay informed about the girl's situation, work with social services, and see how he could personally ensure she had the support and protection she needed. The memory of her frightened eyes stayed with him, a reminder that life's most important work sometimes happens outside boardrooms and offices. The CEO knew this was the beginning of something more than just a rescue. It was the start of a commitment to a human life, a small soul who had endured too much, and who deserved to know safety, love, and hope. And as he stepped into the new day, he carried with him a sense of purpose that was deeper than any business achievement, a purpose that would guide his actions and transform both their lives in ways he could never have. Imagine. The little girl sat quietly in the back of the police car, clutching the CEO's coat he had wrapped around her the night before. Her small hands held it tightly, as if it were the only piece of safety she had in the world. The streets were waking up to a new day, and the morning sun reflected off the wet pavement. The CEO followed closely behind, making sure she was comfortable and that no one treated her with anything less than care. As they arrived at the Child Protection Center, social workers approached with gentle smiles, kneeling down to her level and speaking in soft, calm voices. The girl hesitated, glancing at the CEO as if asking silently, "Will you stay?" He gave her a small nod and a reassuring smile, letting her know that he would not leave her alone. It was a tiny gesture, but for her, it meant everything. Inside, the center was busy, filled with children who had all faced difficult situations. The girl's eyes widened slightly, taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. She had been in her father's care for as long as she could remember, and everything outside of that world felt strange and frightening. The CEO held her hand for a moment before letting the staff take over, but he stayed close enough that she could see him whenever she needed reassurance. The social workers began asking her questions about her family, school, and daily life. The girl's voice was barely audible at first, but the CEO gently encouraged her from a distance, whispering supportive words. Slowly, she began to speak, revealing small pieces of her life. She talked about her father, his drinking, and the times when she felt unsafe at home. Each word was a glimpse into a life filled with fear and neglect. The CEO's heart ached, but he remained composed. Focusing on what he could do to help her move forward. The authorities explained the immediate next steps: temporary foster care or a safe home, medical checkups, and counseling to help her process the trauma. The CEO listened attentively, asking questions and making notes in his mind. He wanted to ensure she would have the best possible care. He realized that while rescuing her from the street was just the beginning, her journey to healing would require ongoing support and attention. After the initial intake, the girl was given a warm meal and a place to rest. The CEO sat nearby, observing quietly. He watched her take small bites, noticing how cautious she was, almost as if she did not trust that the food would always be there. He remembered that look of fear from the night before and resolved to provide more than just temporary help. She deserved stability, love, and guidance, things her father had never given her. As the morning progressed, the CEO spoke with the staff about her situation. He wanted to know about her health, emotional state, and any immediate needs. They informed him about counseling sessions, medical exams, and potential foster placements. Each option was carefully considered, and he listened attentively, weighing how he could personally support her during this transition. Meanwhile, the girl slowly began to explore her surroundings. She wandered a little, still hesitant, but curious about the new environment. She met other children who were also learning to adjust to safety and care. Some of them shared their stories, and though the CEO could see the sadness in their eyes, he also noticed sparks of hope. He realized that with care and patience, this little girl could begin to heal and discover happiness again. During the day, the CEO quietly observed the staff interacting with the children. Their patience and kindness were evident, and he felt grateful for their work. He also knew that for his part, he could provide resources, mentorship, and guidance to ensure the girl had every chance to succeed. He spoke with the social workers about his desire to remain involved, not just as a distant benefactor, but as a steady presence in her life. The girl, still wary, slowly started to engage with him. She asked small questions, like when she could go home, or if she could see her favorite toy. The CEO answered honestly, but gently, explaining that her safety was the most important thing right now. He promised that she would have everything she needed, from care to learning opportunities, and he kept his promise with sincerity. Slowly, trust began to build, a fragile connection forming between them. As evening approached, the center prepared to transition her to a temporary foster home. The girl looked nervous, clinging slightly to the CEO. He knelt down to meet her eyes, speaking softly, "You're going to be safe. They will take care of you until we find a place where you can grow and learn and be happy." Her eyes filled with tears, not from fear alone, but from relief and the overwhelming feeling that someone genuinely cared about her well-being. At the foster home, the girl met a kind woman who welcomed her warmly. The CEO stayed until he saw she was settled, making sure she had clean clothes, a cozy bed, and a safe space to rest. He watched her curl up under the blanket, finally letting herself feel some sense of security. He knew that this was just the beginning, but it was a critical step in giving her a chance at a better life. The CEO left the foster home, reluctantly, but with determination. He promised himself that he would not leave her side entirely. He began researching ways to provide ongoing support, from educational resources to therapy, to ensure she would not feel alone or forgotten. The weight of responsibility was heavy, but he felt a sense of purpose he had never experienced in his corporate life. Over the next few days, he maintained regular contact with the social workers, checking on her progress and well-being. He also started planning how he could provide a stable, long-term solution for her. Each update from the foster home was carefully noted, and he celebrated even the smallest victories. A smile, a word spoken, a meal finished, or a laugh shared. These moments, though small, were monumental in rebuilding trust and hope in her life. During this time, the CEO reflected on his own life. He realized that while he had achieved tremendous success in business, he had never experienced a responsibility as profound and human as caring for a vulnerable child. The contrast between corporate victories and this personal mission was striking. He began to understand that true impact comes not just from wealth or power, but from compassion, courage, and commitment to helping others. The girl, slowly gaining confidence, began to open up in small ways. She asked questions about the CEO's life, his work, and even his family. He answered patiently, making sure she understood that while he was important in the world, her safety and happiness were now his priority. Each conversation, each shared laugh, and each moment of gentle encouragement helped build a bond that was becoming unbreakable. By the end of the week, the girl had adjusted to her temporary home enough to start participating in activities, though she still showed signs of trauma and hesitation. The CEO arranged for counseling and educational support, ensuring she had resources to express herself and process her emotions. He also made sure that the foster family understood her needs, encouraging them to provide consistency, patience, and love. The days turned into weeks, and the girl's resilience became evident. She learned to trust again, though slowly, and began to show glimpses of the joyful child she had been before life's hardships took their toll. The CEO continued to check in, offering quiet guidance and support. He celebrated milestones with her, small and significant alike, always reinforcing that she was not alone and that someone genuinely cared about her future. Through these efforts, the CEO realized that helping someone in need was more than a single act of kindness. It was a journey. It required patience, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to the well-being of another human being. For the girl, this journey was transforming her life, giving her the first true sense of safety, trust, and hope that she had ever known. By the end of the part, a deep connection had been established. The little girl, once scared and abandoned, now had someone in her corner, guiding her through the early steps of healing. The CEO, who had been focused on numbers and success, had discovered a new purpose in life, one that brought meaning far beyond any achievement he had ever experienced. This was only the beginning, but both of their lives were already changed forever. The little girl had been in the foster home for a few days, and although she was slowly adjusting to her new environment, the scars of her past were still visible. She would sometimes flinch at loud noises or withdraw when people approached too quickly. The CEO visited her regularly, always arriving with a warm smile and a calm presence. He knew that rebuilding trust would take time, and he was willing to be patient. One morning, the CEO met with the social workers to discuss the next steps in her care. The legal process was complicated. Her father, although known to be abusive, still had rights, and the authorities had to follow strict protocols to protect the child while ensuring due process. The CEO listened carefully, asking questions and making sure that every decision prioritized her safety. He wanted to make sure she would never be returned to an unsafe environment. At the same time, the CEO worked to arrange counseling sessions for her. The first sessions were difficult. She was hesitant to speak about her experiences, and her eyes would well up with tears at the mention of her father. The counselor encouraged her to draw pictures and write stories about her feelings, allowing her to express herself in ways that words sometimes could not. The CEO would sometimes sit quietly nearby, letting her know he was there if she needed support. In these sessions, fragments of her past began to surface. She spoke in small pieces about nights spent alone while her father drank, about moments of fear and confusion, and about the loneliness that had always surrounded her. Each story was heartbreaking, and the CEO felt a deep responsibility to ensure she would never feel that way again. He reassured her gently, telling her that she was not alone and that she was safe now. The CEO also became involved in her education. She had missed a lot of school due to her unstable home life, and he wanted to make sure she had every opportunity to catch up. He arranged for tutors and extra support in reading, writing, and math. Each time he visited, he would sit with her and help her with lessons, patiently explaining concepts and encouraging her to ask questions. Slowly, her confidence began to grow. Despite the progress, there were still difficult moments. She would sometimes have nightmares or cry unexpectedly, and there were days when she refused to speak or participate. The CEO learned to be patient, giving her space when she needed it and offering comfort when she was ready. He realized that healing from trauma was not a straight path, and every small step forward was a victory. One day, during a meeting with the authorities, the CEO was informed about the father's attempt to regain custody. The news was unsettling, but he remained calm and determined. He worked closely with the social workers to ensure that the child's rights and safety were fully protected. He attended hearings, providing statements about her situation and the risks she had faced. His presence in the legal process became a source of stability and advocacy for her. Outside of legal matters, the CEO focused on building a sense of normalcy in her life. He took her on small outings, like visits to the park or the library, allowing her to experience moments of joy and freedom. He encouraged her to participate in hobbies and activities she had once enjoyed, from drawing to playing simple games. These experiences helped her feel like a child again, not just a survivor of trauma. As the weeks passed, the girl began to develop a sense of trust in him. She would greet him with a smile when he arrived, and sometimes she would share small details about her day. These moments were precious, and the CEO cherished them, knowing that they were signs of healing and hope. He made sure to celebrate each milestone, no matter how small, reinforcing her sense of accomplishment and worth. The CEO also worked to connect her with a supportive community. He introduced her to other children who had faced challenges and were now thriving, showing her that she was not alone and that there were people who cared and understood. Through these connections, she began to learn about resilience, friendship, and empathy. The CEO watched as she slowly began to open up, forming bonds and learning to trust again. Meanwhile, the legal process continued. The father's attempts to challenge custody were met with firm resistance from the authorities, guided by the CEO's advocacy. The court recognized the child's need for safety and stability, and temporary custody arrangements were extended while long-term solutions were explored. The CEO remained involved at every step, ensuring that decisions were made in the girl's best interest. During this time, the CEO reflected on the broader implications of his actions. He realized that helping one child could inspire change and awareness in the community. He began considering ways to support other children in similar situations, not just through personal involvement, but also through programs and resources that could make a lasting impact. His experiences with this little girl became a catalyst for a deeper understanding of compassion, responsibility, and human connection. The girl's emotional growth was gradual but noticeable. She began to express her feelings more openly, sometimes laughing or playing without fear. She started to participate in group activities at the foster home and showed curiosity about learning new things. Each positive change reinforced the CEO's commitment to her well-being, and he continued to provide consistent support, guidance, and encouragement. The CEO also focused on preparing her for the possibility of a more permanent living arrangement. He worked with social workers to identify foster families or guardians who could provide long-term care, ensuring that her new home would be safe, nurturing, and stable. He involved her in the process when appropriate, helping her understand her options and giving her a sense of control over her future. Throughout this period, the bond between the CEO and the girl grew stronger. He became a steady presence in her life, someone she could rely on for guidance, comfort, and support. His patience, empathy, and unwavering commitment helped her develop trust and confidence, showing her that she could rely on others and that she deserved care and protection. The journey was not without setbacks. There were days when memories of her past overwhelmed her, and moments when fear and uncertainty resurfaced. The CEO responded with understanding and patience, reinforcing her sense of security and helping her navigate these challenges. He encouraged her to express her feelings, validating her experiences and helping her develop coping strategies. Over time, the girl began to see herself differently. She realized that she was capable, valued, and deserving of love and care. She started to imagine a future filled with possibilities, a life where she could grow, learn, and thrive. The CEO's consistent support played a crucial role in this transformation, providing her with a model of stability, kindness, and resilience. By the end of this part of her journey, the girl had made significant progress. She was no longer the frightened, withdrawn child from the streets, but a young girl beginning to reclaim her life. She had learned to trust, to express herself, and to believe in the possibility of safety and happiness. The CEO, who had stepped into her life as a rescuer, had become a mentor, guardian, and source of unwavering support. Their shared journey of healing, trust, and hope was well underway, setting the stage for the next steps in building a secure and fulfilling life for the little girl. The little girl had been living in the foster home for several weeks, and although she still carried traces of fear and sadness, she was beginning to find a sense of stability. The CEO visited her regularly, each time bringing encouragement, small gifts, or new books to read. These visits became the highlights of her week, moments when she felt safe, valued, and truly seen. He began introducing her to routines that would give her life structure and predictability. They started each day with reading and breakfast together, followed by lessons or tutoring sessions. The CEO was patient, explaining things in simple terms and allowing her to learn at her own pace. She began to enjoy these moments, her curiosity slowly returning and her confidence growing. Each small victory, whether learning a new word or solving a problem in her lessons, was celebrated with praise and encouragement. Outside of academics, the CEO encouraged her to explore hobbies and activities that brought joy. They went to the park, the library, and even took trips to local museums. The girl learned how to ride a bicycle and began to enjoy drawing, painting, and storytelling. These experiences, once unimaginable due to her past life, became sources of excitement and happiness. She began to feel like a normal child, with opportunities to laugh, play, and dream. At the same time, the CEO ensured she received continued counseling. Her therapist worked with her to process the trauma she had experienced, teaching her coping strategies and ways to express her feelings safely. The CEO supported this process, attending some sessions to understand her needs better and showing her that she had a constant ally. The girl began to understand that it was okay to feel emotions and that expressing them was part of healing. He also focused on building her social skills and helping her develop friendships. He introduced her to other children who had gone through challenges but were learning to thrive. Through shared activities, games, and stories, she began to understand the value of trust and companionship. She learned how to interact with peers, share, and communicate her feelings. These social connections were vital in her growth, teaching her resilience, empathy, and confidence. The CEO remained deeply involved in her education. He arranged for a mentor who could guide her academically and emotionally, someone she could turn to for support beyond his presence. He also provided resources to enrich her learning experiences, from science kits to art supplies, ensuring that she had opportunities to explore her interests and talents. Over time, her school performance improved, and she began to show pride in her achievements. During this period, the CEO also began planning for her long-term stability. He worked with social workers to identify a permanent guardian or safe home, arrangement that would ensure she continued to receive love and care. He involved her in discussions in an age-appropriate way, explaining the choices and helping her feel part of the decision-making process. This empowerment was essential in giving her a sense of control over her life and future. The little girl's emotional growth became increasingly visible. She smiled more often, spoke confidently about her ideas, and even expressed excitement about her future. She had begun to trust not only the CEO, but also the people around her. The consistent care, encouragement, and presence of someone who genuinely cared had transformed her outlook on life. The CEO found that this journey was affecting him profoundly as well. He realized that his own life had changed, gaining purpose beyond wealth and business success. He experienced joy in her milestones, relief in her laughter, and a deep sense of fulfillment in watching her grow. Their bond had evolved into something special, a connection built on trust, care, and mutual respect. He also made sure she experienced the feeling of family and belonging. On weekends, they would spend time together doing simple things like cooking meals, reading stories, or playing games. These moments helped her feel secure, loved, and appreciated. She began to understand that relationships could be nurturing and safe. A stark contrast to her previous experiences, the CEO continued to teach her life skills. From managing small responsibilities to understanding personal boundaries and decision-making. These lessons were gentle and supportive, allowing her to develop independence while feeling guided. He encouraged her to take small steps and celebrate her progress, reinforcing a sense of self-worth and capability. Over time, the girl began to develop dreams for her future. She spoke about the things she wanted to learn, places she wanted to visit, and even the person she wanted to become. The CEO listened attentively, offering encouragement and practical advice on how to achieve these goals. He reminded her that she had the power to shape her life, and that mistakes or setbacks were part of learning and growing. The relationship between them deepened further as the girl began to see him not just as a helper, but as a trusted adult who genuinely cared for her well-being. She would share small secrets, stories from her day, or even silly jokes, knowing that he would listen without judgment. This trust was crucial in her ongoing emotional development, teaching her that human connection could be safe, supportive, and rewarding. The CEO also worked quietly to provide for her future. He arranged for educational funds, ensured access to extracurricular activities, and planned for her long-term needs. These preparations were not just about material support, but about ensuring that she had opportunities to thrive emotionally, socially, and intellectually. He wanted her to experience a life full of possibilities, free from the fear and neglect that had defined her early years. As the months passed, the girl transformed from a frightened, uncertain child into a confident, curious, and joyful young girl. She had learned to trust, to express herself, and to embrace the opportunities around her. The CEO's steady presence, compassion, and dedication had made a profound difference, providing her with the foundation she needed to grow and succeed. Through this journey, the CEO realized that true wealth was not measured by money or possessions, but by the impact one could have on another human life. He had invested not in stocks or assets, but in trust, love, and care, and the returns were immeasurable. The girl's happiness, growth, and sense of security were the truest indicators of success he had ever experienced. By the end of this period, the girl had a sense of belonging, hope, and self-worth. She had started to envision a future where she could dream, achieve, and feel safe. The CEO's unwavering support had helped her navigate the challenges of her past and embrace the possibilities of her future. Their shared journey of healing, growth, and trust had created a strong foundation, setting the stage for her continued transformation and long-term happiness. Years had passed since the CEO first found the little girl alone and frightened on that quiet city street. She had grown into a bright, confident young girl, carrying herself with a sense of assurance that once seemed impossible. The memories of her painful past remained, but they no longer defined her. With steady support, care, and guidance, she had learned to trust, to feel safe, and to dream about a future filled with possibilities. The CEO continued to play a vital role in her life, though the nature of their relationship had evolved. He was no longer just a rescuer or mentor. He had become a steadfast figure, someone she could rely on in every situation. They shared moments of joy and learning, tackling new challenges together, celebrating successes, and laughing freely. Their bond had become unbreakable, built on years of trust, patience, and understanding. She excelled in her studies, her natural curiosity and intelligence blossoming under the guidance and encouragement of her mentor. Tutoring sessions had long become enjoyable discussions, filled with questions, ideas, and excitement about new things to learn. The CEO often marveled at how far she had come. She was not only thriving academically, but also socially, forming friendships and learning to navigate the world with confidence and empathy outside the classroom. She pursued hobbies and passions that she had once only dreamed about. She joined art classes, learned to play an instrument, and even participated in community events. Each activity helped her discover her talents and interests, building her self-esteem and reinforcing the belief that she was capable of achieving anything she set her mind to. The CEO was always there to cheer her on, celebrating every milestone with genuine pride. The girl's emotional growth was equally remarkable. She had learned to express her feelings openly, communicate her needs, and seek help when necessary. The nightmares and fear that once haunted her were gradually replaced by resilience and hope. She had developed coping strategies, supported by therapy and the steady presence of the CEO, that allowed her to process difficult emotions and experiences in a healthy way. Through their shared journey, the CEO had also grown profoundly. He realized that the lessons he had learned from helping her were as valuable as any he had encountered in business. He had discovered the depth of human resilience, the power of compassion, and the true meaning of responsibility. His life, once measured in achievements and wealth, had taken on a richer purpose. He felt fulfilled in ways that no corporate victory could ever provide. Together, they explored new opportunities. The CEO encouraged her to dream bigger, to pursue goals that once seemed unattainable. She began to imagine a future where she could help others, inspired by the kindness and dedication that had transformed her life. He guided her in setting realistic goals, nurturing her ambitions while instilling a sense of responsibility and empathy. They also spent time reflecting on her journey. On quiet evenings, they would sit together, talking about her past, the challenges she had overcome, and the strength she had developed. These conversations were filled with gratitude, understanding, and love. The CEO reminded her that her experiences, though painful, had shaped her resilience and courage, qualities that would serve her well in life. As she grew older, the girl became more independent, making her own decisions while still valuing the guidance and support of her mentor. The CEO ensured that she had the tools and confidence to face life's challenges with courage. He taught her practical skills, from financial literacy to problem solving, preparing her for a future where she could thrive on her own while remaining grounded in values of empathy and kindness. The girl's sense of identity and self-worth was now firmly established. She knew she was loved, valued, and capable of making a positive impact on the world. Her experiences had given her a unique perspective on life, fostering compassion and understanding for others who face difficulties. She began to think about ways to give back, inspired by the guidance and example of the CEO who had changed her life. Throughout these years, the CEO maintained his commitment to ensuring her well-being. He remained involved in her education, social life, and emotional growth, always providing support without overshadowing her independence. Their relationship was one of mutual respect and trust, allowing her to flourish while understanding the importance of gratitude, perseverance, and empathy. As she approached adolescence, the girl began to take on responsibilities that helped her feel empowered. She volunteered in local community projects, participated in mentoring programs for younger children, and shared her story to inspire others. The CEO encouraged these activities, proud to see her transforming into a young woman who not only survived adversity, but also used her experiences to make a difference. The public recognition of her journey was not the focus for either of them, but occasionally, moments of acknowledgement highlighted the impact of their shared efforts. The CEO quietly contributed to initiatives supporting children in need, ensuring that her story could inspire change and awareness. Yet, the most important victories were personal. Her happiness, confidence, and ability to live a fulfilling life. The bond between them remained strong and enduring. They shared ordinary moments filled with laughter and warmth, from cooking meals together to exploring parks, reading stories, and celebrating small achievements. These simple acts of connection reinforced the girl's sense of security and belonging, showing her that life could be filled with love and stability. By the time she was a young teenager, she had become a confident, self-assured individual. She was proud of her achievements and grateful for the guidance she had received. She knew that the journey had not been easy, but she had grown stronger, more compassionate, and ready to face the world. The CEO, witnessing her transformation, felt a profound sense of fulfillment and joy, knowing that his actions had helped create a life full of promise. The girl's future was now full of possibilities. She dreamed of pursuing education, building meaningful relationships, and making a positive impact in her community. She understood the importance of resilience, empathy, and determination, lessons instilled through years of support, care, and guidance. The CEO had helped her not just survive, but thrive, giving her the tools and confidence to shape her own destiny. In quiet moments, they reflected on the journey they had shared. The CEO reminded her of her courage, resilience, and the hope she had embraced despite difficult circumstances. She expressed gratitude for his unwavering support, acknowledging the profound difference he had made in her life. These moments were filled with mutual respect, understanding, and a deep sense of accomplishment. The story of the little girl and the CEO became a testament to the transformative power of compassion, courage, and dedication. One small act of bravery intervening, when she was abandoned and frightened, had set off a chain of events that changed her life forever. Through consistent support, love, and guidance, the CEO had helped her overcome trauma, discover her potential, and embrace a future filled with hope. As they continued to move forward together, the CEO and the girl knew that the journey was ongoing. Life would present new challenges and opportunities, but she now had the tools, resilience, and confidence to face them. Their bond, built on trust, patience, and compassion, provided a foundation that would support her throughout her life. In the end, the little girl, once abandoned and beaten, had transformed into a thriving, joyful young person. The CEO's response, his courage, empathy, and unwavering commitment had not only changed her life, but had also enriched his own. Their story was a powerful reminder that one person's actions, guided by humanity and kindness, could create lasting change, turning fear and despair into hope and possibility. Through their journey, both had discovered that true success was measured not by wealth or status, but by the lives we touch and the love we give.